Cool. Welcome to Plan Stage Weekly, September 1st. We have a short agenda. We talked a little bit about, so far before we recorded, we talked a little bit about the designs on work items and when we need to get designs done. I mentioned that we can hold up. Front end is not going to be blocked by designs until we're actually going to be implementing the widget. So just a little bit before we plan on implementing them. Now, Gabe has a question on workspaces.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask, since so many of our engineers are slated to go work on that, I was just curious how things are going. I know Melissa and Imre were working on creating issues that can be worked on in parallel. And she is back, I think, today, but is there anything that I can help with in terms of, like, does everyone have work to do? Is it clear? Is there any confusion? How's it going in general?
Yeah, I think of all the engineers, I'm the only one on the call. But yeah, we're making some progress. I don't think it is full speed just yet. We're introducing this project namespace, and there is an MR for that. I can link it in the doc if anyone is interested. But then there is also parallel discussion into backfilling data for the project namespace. So basically what will happen, every project will get sort of a clone namespace to it attached, which is different from projects linking to their parent namespace, just to make it somewhat clearer. And it, like before we can really start to backfill that data, some stuff needs to happen, we need to make sure that moving a project to a different group copies over also the namespace, and all that stuff, exporting a project and all that interesting stuff. So we need to implement that even before we start backfilling data into the database, because then otherwise when you do export a project that already has an attached namespace, will not have that functioning. So we'll either have to clean up the old namespace, create a new one. So there's all sorts of interesting things happening. So yeah, things are moving, but I've been off 2 days this week, so I'm kind of catching up. But yeah, there is I think we are at the point where we need to decide how we break down those into parallelized issues that can be worked on before we start actually doing this big migration of backfilling data. So that's sort of a shortish update on what's going on.
Cool, thank you. Donald, did you want to vocalize your question?
Yeah, Alexandra, you're probably the best one to answer this. Is there any front end help that you need on there? I don't imagine there is right now, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, I don't think we need anything. I think there is a lot of stuff that needs to go into database and backend and really structuring that code base around how we want it to work. We may need some help from import-export team if we will not be able to dive like into the import-export, how that happens and all that stuff. Because like initially, I for some reason I thought that when you export a group, that will also export the project. So I just thought that we can easily reuse that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. We do export groups separately without exporting projects, and we do export projects like as a separate thing. So yeah, we'll need to see how easy that is to combine and to reuse. But yeah, nothing from the front end and user experience, I don't think.
That makes sense. Marching around, right? Yeah.
Unmuted. Yeah, I think I'm getting my question answered in the agenda. So I'm also the temporary new tech writer for Manage Workspace, and so I was just a little confused. I knew that we were giving something up, but I didn't know that our engineers were working on it as well. So
Yeah, so basically everybody who got headcount reset away from plan for the next 3 releases is to help with that workspaces stuff on the managed side. So they kind of have several, manage has several engineers coming in from different teams to work on different areas, but thankfully workspaces is sort of aligned closely with plan. So our folks got to go and work on that. And I think the goal is like to hire, they have a headcount to hire into that team to sort of fully staff that team. But this was kind of an acceleration of that. So they should have, I think by the time all the dust settles, we should get our people back, and then they should also have hired people to kind of take over that stuff.
cool, thanks.
I think I had the next question. It was really just around, given this kind of shift, what's the best way to best utilize front-end engineers' time, given the loss of back-end to workspaces? Just curious if like there was like, as a product manager, if I needed to shift my focus to like refining some other low-hanging fruit for front end, or if we're good with the work we have on our plate. That's mainly what I'm looking to get answered.
Yeah, so both. We want to get a little ahead on work items. Well, we don't want to get the full 3 months ahead of the back end on work items, but we want to start working on the architecture and some of the things that where it makes sense to get ahead on. I don't think we should work 100% on the front end on work items. So yeah, if you do have low-hanging fruit on the product side, feel free to send that to us. I'm thinking we'll also take care of some of our bug backlog over the next few months too. But yeah, definitely send over low-hanging fruit.
I would add to what Donald said, that we can focus a bit more on widgets because we will need to require them anyway on work items. So we can refactor a few sidebar widgets to be more usable as well. This is also a part. And speaking about the schema we are going to define, we would probably need some attention from backend. I already discussed this with Donald for reviews. So when we'll be defining types on our schema for work items, it would be nice to have at least one backend engineer reviewing this. I know we are a bit of shortage on backend engineers, but they still will need some attention.
Cool. Follow-up question just around the widgets and stuff like that, because I know Holly was asking this too. She was concerned about, as she's working on the new work item UX, like how much can she change without giving front-end engineers a headache in terms of like how the design and the interactions behave. And I've kind of given her their guidance that like we're going to be refactoring some stuff anyway, so do what is best for the end user and we'll sort it out. But I just want to make sure, like, if we do propose, you know, like the data is not really going to change because we know what the data is for a lot of these things, right? But in terms of like maybe how the interactions work or what the UI looks like, is it going to be a huge headache if you do refactor some other things in the sidebar into widgets, and then we want to change, like, you know, the style, look and feel, you know, some of the interactions with the widget itself after the fact?
I would say it depends on how much is changed in terms of interactions, but I agree with you that it should be refactored. Like, I'm working on labels right now, and it's just madness. What do we have? Like, the amount of bugs we have on all labels. So I'm sure that there will be not that much in terms of design change, right? Because we're still bound to pajamas in terms of components and everything. And the main interaction is still the same in terms of drop downs, opening, closing, and so on. But I'm open to see what UX can propose, so we can decide how much time do we need on this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of saying, I've also told Holly that if we need to change pajamas, we should change pajamas upstream. Like, because even like the labels interaction, I was going through it, and it's there's so many broken things about it. Like, and like we
It's
have
really
like
bad.
the labels, like the actual label for labels for the field. We have like a bunch of stuff that doesn't work. Even like the close button on the drop down doesn't work. So like, it's almost like I think some things need to change upstream too. And so I've encouraged her to not be scared of proposing those. But she did just create, she's going to start creating an issue for each widget. I think this is an MVC3, and start working through UX for each one. So if there's a specific widget that you want to work on, like let Holly know, like publicly or in the issue or in the epic or whatever. And that way she can kind of focus on thinking through the UX for that while you want to do the refactoring, if that makes sense. Because you can sort of like work on these in any order when you get to that point. So I don't think it really matters to her which one she works on. But it's a great opportunity to like collaborate so we don't do a bunch of wasted effort.
Cool. Anyone else?